I'd now like to introduce our last panelist, Michael Teitelbaum. Michael currently serves as Senior Advisor to the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, where he advises the foundation on the management of its professional science master's programs. Previously, Dr. Teitelbaum served as Program Director for the foundation and was responsible for overseeing a number of grant-making programs, including the Sloan Research Fellowships and the Professional Science Master's Program and the Science and Engineering Workforce Program, among others. Dr. Teitelbaum is a demographer educated at Reed College and at Oxford, where he was a Rhodes Scholar. He has held numerous high-profile academic and public policy positions and publishes extensively in scientific and popular journals. Dr. Teitelbaum.
I was asked to say a word about the Sloan Foundation, and it will be a sentence, really, about the Sloan Foundation. It's an old American foundation based in New York, established by Alfred P. Sloan, Jr., who was the man who built General Motors from a essentially bankrupt company in 1921 to, I think, the largest multinational company when he retired as chairman in 1952, I think. And I guess you could say it was downhill from there as far as General Motors was concerned. And he endowed the Sloan Foundation, but also the Sloan Kettering Cancer Research Institute and the Sloan School of Management at MIT. The Sloan Foundation is one of the too few U.S. foundations that support science, mathematics, engineering, economics, and related fields. And it's long been interested in ensuring that careers in these fields are attractive enough to attract the best, the very best students. And also that graduates of these programs have the skills that employers are really looking for. In the 1990s, we became aware of some major problems in both of those regards, a major gap and a major mismatch. The U.S. STEM education, or science, technology, engineering, mathematics education, was really world-class and still is at the bachelor's level, whatever you may read in the newspapers, and at the PhD level, still world-class, top leadership institutions right across the board. But a BA, in which the U.S. was very strong and still is, was no longer sufficient, really, to be a scientist. And career paths for PhDs were showing signs of becoming less attractive to U.S. students. There was apparent oversupply in many fields. The time to degree was stretching out, and the career prospects were uncertain. We talked about this with many employers of scientists and engineers, and we listened to them. It's a good way to start. And they all told us they really wanted to hire scientists and engineers with graduate levels of education, that the bachelor's level was really not sufficient in insight and knowledge for what they needed. But they couldn't find many such graduate level educated scientists and engineers who also had the knowledge they would need to succeed in their firms, in management, in communications, in teamwork, in IT, in IP, or whatever the field might be, regulatory affairs, each field is different, but they all needed more than, plus, they needed more than the high-level graduate scientific, mathematical, or engineering skills. This was the goal of the Professional Science Masters Initiative, to rectify these gaps and mismatches, and I think you've heard that the rest is history. It's a pretty short history. 15 years is but a moment in graduate education, but it has been the history, and it has been, I would say, a quite remarkable success. Now, U.S. universities are often criticized, sometimes in the buildings located near here, of being out of touch with the needs of the economy, of producing people who are not prepared to go into the workforce, and not producing the kinds of graduates that the economy really needs. Well, here we have the opposite of that. U.S. graduate schools have really demonstrated a remarkable level of commitment and energy to these innovative new degrees, and you could hear that from some of the earlier speakers, so I won't repeat what they had to say. The many employers who have hired PSM graduates, you've heard some examples today, everyone I've talked to is very happy with the people they've hired, with the background and the breadth and the integrated skills, both in the science or mathematics or whatever the technical field is, but also in those other skills that all employers, as far as I can tell, they may just drink the same Kool-Aid or something, but they all say they're looking for people with exactly those skills beyond the science, mathematics, and engineering skills. And they've been very happy with this unique blend that graduates from PSM programs bring with them. I do want to say a word about some federal efforts in this regard that I think are important to recognize here. The National Science Foundation, for 2 years, ran something called the Science Masters Program. It was also very successful. It was a PSM kind of initiative on the part of the National Science Foundation. They supported 22, I think, grants. 21, thank you. People are very precise in the PSM. 21 grants in critical STEM areas. And the only unfortunate thing about that program is that it was funded under the American Recovery and Reconstruction Act. Is that what ARA was standing for? The ARA. And that lasted for only 2 years. So they are no longer supporting that, and I think that's unfortunate. But it was a very successful program. The other thing about federal agencies I want to say is that the recruitment by federal agencies has been smaller than it should have been. The evidence is less than 7% of the PSM graduates have been recruited. The final thing I want to say is the Sloan trustees were very creative in the way they dealt with this program. They made a 10-year commitment to support PSM initiatives if they were showing signs of success, and they were, of course. As the 10th year arose, if you look at this graph, as the 10th year appeared, you have it in your folder, you can see that growth had been substantial, but it was not hugely rapid. It was growing, they were growing about 10 per year, and our perception on the staff level was that the PSM initiative was at a point of takeoff. And they decided to extend their commitment for a further 2 years. And if you look at the graph, you'll see they were right. The takeoff took place around 2008, and the inflection, the point of inflection in the curve was very substantial. The future of these degrees, I think, will depend upon continuation of this cooperation between higher education and employers that has driven their rapid expansion so far. And it would be awfully nice to see more involvement from the federal agencies. More recruitment is the most important thing. They should really be doing what the USPTO is doing and recruiting actively from PSM programs. So I think we have a great success story here. I think I can say the Sloan Foundation is very happy with what's happened and is proud to have contributed to this success. Thank you.